right, so welcome back from our, I would call it our commercial break. So we do appreciate your patience with us. So we do have at least one representative from all 9 districts here right now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to segue back to the work group communications meeting policy. Does everyone have the meeting policy in front of them? So with this meeting policy, we are going to vote, and only one person from each district will be able to vote. So if you brought more than one person to represent your district, if you could agree upon who is going to vote from your district. So District 5, Hamilton County and the City of Fishers, you would have to decide who would vote. District Elkhart and so we'll have to figure out who's going to be your delegate, but everyone else should be okay with just one representative from their district. So segueing back to the communications policy, what we're going to be voting on is policy A through G. So with this, the policy states that we really do encourage in-person participation, but we do understand the commutes that a lot of the districts do have. But we also, what we'll be voting on is if the group will allow virtual communication. So we'll put that up to vote. So it's up to everyone to decide whether we all want to meet in person or if we want to say in section C, which allows for at least 3 of the 9 districts be in person. Am I mentioning this correctly, Keon?
Yes, a minimum of 3 of the 9 districts must meet in person. And then if we are meeting in person, virtually, the only difference is there will have to be a roll call vote rather than show of hands.
Okay. Then there is a requirement, which actually everyone just met the requirement today. In order to participate in the work group, you have to attend at least 1 meeting in person. So we all just satisfied that requirement. So we can all just check that off of our list. And then if we do permit or vote on allowing virtual meetings in section E, you will be counted present at the meeting if you attend virtually. You'll be counted for quorum. As we mentioned earlier, we have to have at least 5 of the 9 districts present to meet quorum. And then you may vote, even though it'll just be an electronic vote. Your vote will still count during the work group meeting. As mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm not sure if it was recorded, so we'll say it again. If you're unable to make it to the meeting, please let us know within 7 days. We do know that things happen, but if you could let us know, that way we can find an alternate. That way it'll help us maintain a status of quorum so we can continue meeting. That would be fantastic. We do have an email on file on this document for you to contact us, or you can contact Jordan or myself directly. Either works, but if you do not get a response back from us, please continue to contact someone within food protection. That way we can make sure an alternate is found for your district. Any questions? Do we vote now?
We can vote. The one thing is you cannot, you as an individual representing your district, you cannot vote if you have not taken the ethics policy, ethics training. You need to defer to somebody else in your district who has taken the ethics training.
Were you able to clarify that all of the 9 districts have taken the training?
Aaron, I believe that we're missing 1 district.
I don't think that district is a district 9 work area. District 1, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't believe they've had a chance to take the training yet.
Okay. So for District 1, we'll make sure that we email you the ethics training. That way for future meetings, you'll be able to have a vote for the meetings. So we'll start with Keon, how do we open up the vote?
So since nobody is participating virtually, no one's allowed to, it can just be you can go down the list, District 1, District 2, or just show of hands. It doesn't really matter because nobody is online.
Okay. So essentially what we're doing is we're voting on this policy in front of you as is, a yay or a nay. So we'll go to District 2, Elkhart.
Okay.
District 3, Allen.
Yeah. I think.
District 4, Hendricks.
Yay.
District 5, Hamilton.
Yay.
District 6, Bartholomew.
Yay.
District 7, Marion County.
Yay.
District 8, Vanderburgh.
Yay.
District 9, Clark.
Yay.
And the yays have it. Okay, thank you all for that. And then. Okay, so prior to our break, what we were discussing, we briefly went over a high-level review of what House Bill 1577 is. We also went over the work group requirements, which are the things that we will be achieving. And now we're kind of going over some of the concerns that I know a lot of us in the room do have with the House bill, because those are some of the things we want to address. And then we also mentioned that we may be able to, if there are any sections within the House bill that do require further clarification, that will be something that we will take into consideration as well during, if we are able to present this to legislators during the 2026 legislative session. So we left off with Elkhart County.
So we shared the concerns that the other counties have so far, and then we also have some other questions about returning to a commissary or servicing area. Again, it's going to be impossible to do in the same day if they're 3 hours away. The other question we had was having to do with plan reviews. Who's going to be responsible for doing a plan review on these facilities? And then who is responsible for the 2 times per year? I mean, if they're licensed in another county, am I then responsible for doing an inspection in my county when they come to me? If so, then that's now an unfunded mandate because I don't get a license fee for that. And I'm just going out there and spending time and doing these inspections. Who's going to handle complaints? If somebody calls in and says, hey, I got sick at this facility, but it's licensed in another county, who's doing that complaint inspections? Who's doing that foodborne investigation? Who is that going to fall to? It seems to me that there's a lot of holes in this and that there's a lot of ambiguity. And it's going to actually make it a lot harder to track some of these things. I also think it leaves it open to people doing things out of their houses that they shouldn't be doing out of their houses. I feel like this is, we're taking some steps backwards.
Well, I concur with both of these ladies. I'm the coordinator of temporary food events and farmers markets. Just had 72,000 people in our city for Gen Con. They had over 30 trucks. I need to be able to vet those trucks. I need to be able to see past inspections. We do a plan review for our temporary events because their mobile license isn't good here. So they're going to have to provide that. They're going to have to provide the county that they're licensed in. How are they getting the food during the event if they don't have a commissary? And, we're just worried about the same thing with the foodborne illness. We don't want a foodborne illness in Marion County, especially when we have thousands, we have the 500, we have 350,000 people. And I think we're taking a step back too.
Sorry, to clarify, we're only talking about mobile units. We're not talking about temporary trucks, right? Or are we confusing them and blending them here? Because that's another concern.
So the statewide license will be for all mobile retail food establishment trucks. And that was when I mentioned earlier, this IC code actually states what a mobile truck is. So even though we have a definition for temporary, the state law has a definition for a mobile retail food establishment.
So then can you provide a copy of all these referenced codes to
Yeah.
us, so we know what everything actually is?
Actually,
Because
that down.
when you say, oh, I have to go back to this code, that has to go back to that code, that has to go back to that code, there's 3 times removed, and
Nope,
I
that's
lost
fair.
the attention span by then.
I got you. Okay, so for mobile retail food establishment in IC code, that reference number, everybody ready? It is 16-42-5.1-2. We found this out that it is a state code because we wanted to see the definition in our actual Indiana Administrative Code of 7-26, and it references the IC code. So that is the actual state law definition of what a mobile retail food establishment is. So at this time, we're unable to change that. But like I mentioned earlier, if there's any gray area that needs additional clarification, we may have the opportunity to ask for some of the solutions that we might have generated together as a work group. So
let me finish on that. So the Gen Con event is a temporary event. We had 30 licensed mobiles from Marion County. We also had an additional 10 temporary events. So they're combined. So my concern is, how am I going to find all this information out for a mobile that's a licensed mobile that's going to participate in the temporary event?
I get that, but like for when we do a temporary event, if it's more than 2 days long, they get a temporary license because they don't have the ability to pull out to go and return to a servicing area or a commissary for servicing of their trucks. So they get temporary licenses, which is different than a mobile license
Right.
for our county.
We let them operate as a mobile
Even if they can't pull out and return to a
because we
commissary.
make the organizer provide water, sewage, electricity.
So that's good discussion. So I did write that down, because the per House Bill 1577, it does state that as a work group together, we're going to be coming up with the standards, for how mobiles will be operating, even if it's still a temporary, because there's still a mobile retail food establishment. So these will be really good talking points to come up with. And in the manila folder, I did provide what some other states have done, which do include organizer requirements. So just some things to take into consideration when we meet in future meetings. I really hope that you take a look at all of the documents provided, because there might be solutions, because we have found other states have successfully implemented a statewide mobile food inspection program. So thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Janelle.
Same stuff as Kelly, since I supervisor. I've had expressed my concerns about this when it was still a House bill. We have 3 people out of 37 that are dedicated to mobile food inspections. I myself do mobile food inspections when I'm out with IMPD doing late night inspections 2, 3 in the morning, because we're also catching them sell alcohol, pissing in a bucket, and smoking and selling cigarettes and other kind of drugs in there. We can't take much more. We're all in survival mode as local health departments. We have enough on our shoulders. And this is just adding on to it. Marion County and all the counties represented here, we're going to get everyone coming here. We're already going to lose 40 licensed mobiles because they'll be able to be licensed in their home county. Imagining like the track, all the things that they're going to be coming here. For our own protection, for our people, our residents, and for the backlash we get from the city and the residents of Marion County about these food trucks that are operating all the time, we're going to be inspecting, and it's going to probably come down to me, since I'm salaried and other salaried people, to do it, because we just don't have the money to pay overtime, plus the risk that we're taking already with these. We have a long history with mobiles, and a lot of people here do. We know what's going to go wrong. That is why we have voiced our concerns from the very beginning of what this is going to do. I am very curious for these other state ones, and this is respectfully, what is IDOH going to do for us? I mean, it sounds like you guys can do a database. The backlash that we're going to get for charging from $200 to what, $450? Who's going to communicate that? We are already having people that are already concerned about it have come to us. This is not exciting for the mobiles that we've talked to. They already have competition. We have 540 mobiles, 560 mobiles within Marion County. They don't want any competition from it. They're already kind of eating each other, and places are going out or trying to come reinvent. Having people come from other counties, not only going to take care of our mobiles and have more risk there where they're going to have to expand and do more, but it's also going to affect our food establishments. We don't have a very strong ordinance at the city level. The city is scrambling to get this to stop mobiles from parking wherever. They're already towing them out of downtown. INPD is very concerned about mobiles. So now we have mobiles that are coming in from other counties that we have embedded that we don't know. And they're going to possibly create a crime hub. We've already had that. We've had shootings. There's a shooting on West 38th Street. The mobiles where they set up are all in crime tape. I can't control that. I can't control when all these people are coming in. And it's not about control, it's about public health, obviously, but how do you, control public health? You know who's coming in. We have illegal operators everywhere. That's another concern. If we have illegal operators, who's going to do that? Who's going to be the one vetting them? Because it's probably going to end up on us too. My other concern is the plan review process. We charge for plan review currently because plan review for a mobile takes probably twice as much time as for a brick and mortar restaurant. These are people who are starting off. It's oh, we're going to make money. We're going to do this. No idea what they're doing. It's a quick in. It takes hours and hours of phone calls in Spanish and English, all sorts of conversations to try to get them to where they're licensable. And most of them have to cut the menu. If we lose the plan review fee for that in this whole thing, then we're not going to do it. We can't do plan review. That can't be on us. We already have enough stuff that's going on. This is already eating so much time. But the same reason we can't license them is because we have trucks that are licensed in other jurisdictions that come to us that we can't license. The plumbing's loose. Things are all wrong. And what we need to know is how are we going to retrofit that? So if we have places that are licensed that don't meet these standards, who's going to be the one to say that's not going to meet it? That's a lot of in 100-degree trucks making sure things work. And we've all been there, but I need to know too, in this whole thing, is where we're all going to fit in and who's going to be responsible for it. Citations, do we keep them? I mean, if we're out there all not, shutting down places, getting them towed off when they're dumping water because they have a servicing station, not a commissary, and they're dumping as they're leaving the event. Are we going to get the citations for that? How are we going to collect it when it's all kind of siloed all over the place, but yet under one umbrella? There's a lot of concerns with it. There's just too many things going on right now. And I know we can't change it. And so this is a very respectful conversation, but these are all things that need to be addressed. I've looked at Georgia's. I've looked at some other ones. None of them have been very long-term to really say they're successful. I mean, it's a short term that they've been doing it. But the biggest thing that I saw in what they have is that they are above and beyond. They're making them do where their restrooms are. They're asking where they're going to be. They're holding them accountable. My big concern is that we're not going to do that. We're going to make it, whether it's to the smallest county, to what's palpable to them, or that we're going to make exceptions, and we cannot have that. If this is going to be statewide, then it needs to be aggressive and it needs to be strict, and it needs to be, if people aren't doing what they need to do, then we need to have some intervention at the state level to take care of that. So that is my concern. Sorry, Juan, set you up. My concerns for Juan's too, mental health supervisor over this program, and it is a headache. And I really think that we need to take the time to talk about what a headache it is for the local health departments now and what it's going to look like, because we want to keep I want to keep my staff too.
Wow.
Sorry.
I don't have much else to add, honestly. The biggest challenge I will say is the uptick in people who all of a sudden feel like they are food entrepreneurs, successful food entrepreneurs, when they haven't even worked in a food truck before.
Or at a restaurant.
Or at a restaurant. I say food truck primarily because it's a huge difference between working in a restaurant and a mobile unit. So many intricacies that people don't know about. The lack of commissary use requirements and trying to keep track of their online activity versus when they go and back to the commissary. And there's just so much starting from the licensing aspect of it as a result of the menu. Some people try to present a full restaurant menu with desserts, salads, main course, appetizers, and then you have to spend hours trying to bring them back down to something that's doable. All the while, they're trying to cook all this food at a commissary from scratch when that is the biggest challenge, and that's one of the things that in Marion County we have an issue with is as far as these. We have shared kitchens that do charge hourly. When food trucks try to use shared kitchens as commissaries, they get charged hourly. They don't go back. That's going to be a challenge everywhere. So if you're going out of county, the issue is going to be trying to keep track of them.
Would that be something too, like with the commissary that the state would be required to handle? Like making sure that they are going back to their commissary nightly or with an approval in the 726? Would it be something that you all are gonna take care of? Like, I mean, if it's in our county, we will take care of it, but I mean, if it's in Lisa's county, I don't know about it, but how would I know? So then I'm spending more time communicating with Lisa and Juan, saying, hey, has, Juan's food truck been to its commissary? And, we don't have time for that. And then thinking about that, what about renewals for 2027 and 2028? Like, are you gonna do all the renewals?
So for a disclaimer, as far as IDOHs are in the
Right.
House bill right now, so we did not receive any extra funding to build a statewide system. So that is something, and Fayaz is here today taking notes, who is helping us to kind of build something, a program that we already currently use in-house. And we are more than welcome to feedback, not today, but feedback in general on how we can make this work and how we can provide visibility. Because we did hear that sometimes we use paper. We use paper as well. When every temporary event we do, it is pen and paper. So we do recognize that there are some challenges that we're going to face along the way. So this is really good feedback, but we are working on some sort of software with the tools that we currently have to try and provide a little bit of visibility for mobiles across the state. Yeah.
To add to that, again, because we cannot get the funding, whatever we do build, if it is a software program that everyone can have access to, it's not going to be robust. It's not going to be pretty, but we can hope to make it at least functional. And again, that is why FIS is here to help take in all of your input. And hopefully, either the next work group or maybe the work group after that, we can present some options for how we might be able to roll out a statewide database for everyone to access to look at violations, plan reviews, permits. But for now, unfortunately, that is something that is very much in the planning stages. Yeah.
Can you tell me really quick, I only know my county, how many mobiles are in Indiana?
That's what we don't know. So as Indiana is a home rule state, I do not have I don't know what's happening in Marion County. Sorry, Allen County versus Marion County versus Hendricks County. I don't have that data because not everyone posts all of their data digitally. So
Once upon a time, Sharon Farrell came up with a number that was over 1,000. However, we couldn't determine if that was really accurate just because of the home rule and their duplicacies that may have been happening at that time. And that would have been a good 5 years ago at least.
Probably double that at this
Yeah,
point from our data.
Yeah.
I mean, if I may just suggest, Mariah, that might be a good consideration for us to maybe try to get that information, maybe ask the health departments if they're willing to give us just a number of how many they have within their county. It might help the work group as we move through some of these considerations.
that's a DB survey. Thank you.
Would there be a way to survey if they have them publicly posted, the inspections? Because
We could
And that's something we can all work on together, like what are gonna be the questions in the survey that we send out?
Yeah.
Versus just saying, what county are you from? How many food trucks do you have? And we can have just 4 or 5 questions and encourage county participation for the survey. And then once all the data is brought back, then during the next meeting, once we receive all the data, we'll relay it back to the work group to share.
If you come up with more questions as the meeting goes along, or if you, on your drive back home, if you think of something, please let us know. We will add that to the survey.
Then, I guess one last thing. As far as I mentioned, being able to track, But as far as excessive violations and, I think we need a license, revocation policy. Um, something fairly strong and that.
No, I'm writing him a note too.
I'm sorry.
Some of our mobiles don't want to be statewide, and I just want to share that as well. A lot of them, especially among the Hispanic community, want to be where they're set up, and they don't want a statewide one. So that is something if it is within the legal confines of the House bill, to be able to consider allowing that, because some of them probably can't afford the extra 250 and they're never going to utilize that.
That was a concern we have. We have specific ones that do not want to go out of Hendricks County. They're not going to want to pay $450. They don't want to go to other counties. So that was my question, is if we're able to issue our own county mobile permits.
So for, like I mentioned earlier, gray area, we have heard where it would be, so it is a mobile retail food establishment license, maybe a class A, class B, class C. So for the next meeting, what I propose would be identify those gray areas where we need further clarification. So that $400, is that for every single establishment versus the hot dog cart that's here on the circle versus a mobile that has 4 or 5 trucks that's a larger scale. So just food for thought for the next meeting. So those gray areas, because on the agenda, I did post a brief timeline. And those are hard stops for some of the things. So if you notice that the first action item, which will be for the next meeting, it is to establish a bill amendment proposal. So for the next meeting, if we all could come back with areas that we need further clarification on, we could begin to work on that, because we'll have to begin to turn that into our legislative team to turn in for later. Gary.
Well, I'm gonna refer to, my health inspector. We just had a conversation on the way down here. In Gary, we do have, the support of, our city, as far as, how to work with the, mobile establishments. But we were talking about how important it is to make sure we have a checklist, because we do receive a lot of mobile trucks that want to come in from other counties when there are events in Gary. And because, we're just in our second year with there, it seems to be of interest and important to see, how things are panning out. And then this year alone, our events from May until the end of September have tripled. So, right now, we just want to make sure that whatever the process is, and working with the state, and also what is already in place, what we discuss as far as a transient or a peddler's application. It's either one or the other. If the cost is $200, and we just, that is, still kind of steep. Plus you have to pay for an inspection fee, which is $50. So, but then there's a big report, it's a packet. And you can go back and forth between different departments. So we're just kind of, wanting to make sure that if there is a person coming in from another county, that they understand that it's not going to happen and you're not going to get what you need right then and there. But as far as what the health inspectors do, I would pray that we don't have to have them out working almost 12, 14 hours, with these mobile trucks and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. So I'm really concerned and anxious to see how this pans out, because we don't actually have the funding to cover that kind of time with our health inspectors.
Thank you. Vanderberg?
I don't have anything really to add that hasn't already been said. We have several counties that surround us that are a lot smaller, that regulate quite a lot differently than us. So having a standard set of rules would be very helpful.
And I think it's already been talked about that the violation and writing citations. Usually we don't, but there's a county bias that does. And how that's gonna kind of dictate where they go.
Sort of concerned about commissaries and servicing areas, because I think we are a more lenient county when it comes to servicing areas. We've developed a 6 or 7 page document that they fill out to prove to us what they're doing, how they're doing it, they sign it. So we utilize it probably more than it was intended to. So I think having a standardized way to who can use what is going to be really important.
Thank you.
Just a few things. So I guess about permit renewals, I know it's been mentioned a little bit, but is that gonna be like, what's the permitting period? January 1 to December 31st? Is it gonna run from the year from the date they get it? I know everybody probably permits a little bit different in that aspect. And then also with that, if it's 1 to December 31st, they're gonna be like a prorated fee. They get it on November. So like currently we have prorated because it goes from, ours actually goes from February 1st to January 31st. But if they hit half a year or a quarter of the year, they get prorated that percentage. And I didn't see anything like that in the IC. So for that fee portion of that. And then also too, I know this has been said, but I want to reiterate it as the local permit only. I think there are a lot of facilities that do not travel multiple counties, and they would not like to pay the $450 instead of 100 to 200 as far as range in. But I guess too, my concern is getting our local ordinance updated, the timing of that with this being kind of crunched in, like we're gonna have to have enough time to get our local ordinance addressed and passed for fee schedule, and because that's gonna change how we collect fees. And I guess we'll collect it and then we send you all money. I don't know how all that works, but those are kind of the logistical concerns. Everything else pretty much been said. I mean, obviously concerned about inspectors in the field and like typically with the ones we permit, we kind of have an idea in the back of our head that, oh yeah, we did this 1 week ago. Well, Floyd County or one around us does it, and then we're going up and checking them, every time we're at a festival. Because a lot of times they've already been inspected for the year. They're used to not calling and kind of telling you, hey, we're gonna be operating again. So we show up, we already know that this one's been inspected, this one's been inspected, this one's been inspected. But if we haven't done the inspection ourselves, and then there's no way to look it up, like pull the license number and search, when were they inspected, who did it. Be nice to see violations, but because like just temperature violations, they were closed down. Like I'm gonna want to look at that if they were just inspected, even if it was like last week or something. But you'd be able for that inspector to hopefully they could just even get on the phone, because a lot of people don't have tablets or computers out on site for those events. It's just cumbersome. If they could easily just look that up, see when they were inspected last, I think it's pretty important.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, for Alan, it's pretty much the same thing. It's plan review. Where does that start? What county is responsible, or is the state responsible for that? Issuing permits, who's going to be responsible for that? Is it the home county where the commissary is located? Inspections, just mentioned, semi-annual, is that done by the home county? Who's responsible for that as well? Home county, I mean, the commissary is located. Does it include mobiles with packaged foods? Not necessarily food service, but could be a meat truck or ice cream truck or something like that. And is it necessary to do 2 inspections for something that's prepackaged like that? So we do a lot of risk-based based on menu type or process. And what if a county issues a mobile permit, which we've seen before in a neighboring county, but turns out they have a temporary setup to it, but they have an annual permit. So I think that's why it has to be consistent plan review, inspection phase, much like standardization. I think it has to be pretty well developed. We also have problems with commissaries too, reporting back. So it's important to see is that the home county that's going to be checking on that as well and being responsible for those inspections. But those were mainly our concerns.
St. Joseph.
Pretty much the same concerns. Also considering where the trucks or vehicles or units are gonna go to, if they have to get their fire inspections at all of the locations they go to, different jurisdictions, and how that affects the city funding, because I believe I read something that says they will, the fee cannot come from the cities anymore.
So now, I'd like to open it up to those who are online. If you have any questions that you have posted in the chat, or if anyone in the room from the general public, or industry have any questions or concerns or comments, really, just open comments. The floor is yours. Are there any, questions in the chat or
There are
comments?
not yet any questions in the chat or in the Q&A.
Okay.
Any comments at all? Nothing?
There was a concurrent with Janelle from Marion County when she was going over all of.
I would like for the record that we do have not-for-profit trucks, and that's continued to rise where we license them as mobiles. And so I think any consideration of licensing should take into account those, because they're reaching areas that are food deserts or low-income areas. And so we license those at $20 for operation. And I think that there probably is going to be a continued rise of those. There's a lot of discussion on making those bigger and reaching more people.
Okay.
I'll touch base on that too, just real quick. For our not-for-profit organizations, it's a free permit fee. So bars. We have some that are with their schools, we got others that are with other organizations.
And I can see how that would be a challenge with the generalized, definition of mobile retail food establishment. Understood.
I just was gonna tag on Allen County. Some of the mobiles that we've found that come into our county, they allow them to operate outside of their truck. So like they'll set up a whole food station under a tent, and in another county, they allow that. We don't allow that. We make them get a temporary license if they're gonna operate outside of the truck, even if it's like setting a refrigerator inside.
I do have a comment. Allen County mentioned having the home county be where the commissary is. A lot of our trucks have a commissary in Kentucky, so we're right across the street, so they're not in our county or state.
Lots of things to work out in the work.
One of the things that I would be concerned about is that the inspections are standardized. That, are we all looking for the same thing? Is that, I know from our experience that when we started our health department, we just sort of wandered our way around because nobody showed us what we should do. And are we inspecting the way that, and looking at all the things that we should? I think we are, but nobody's ever come in and said, yeah, you're doing that right, or you need to update that. And with new inspectors or so forth, training them on what they need to look at when they're doing a truck inspection, so that if we're going to do this over the state, we're all doing the same thing. We're all looking at the same thing.
And if this is including temporary setups, we have, there's a ton of them that come in from Florida. Where are they gonna go with it?
So
If they're included in the statewide license, who's gonna be doing those inspections and responsible for a 10-day fair inspections?
So I like to call that the gray area, because temporary events weren't included, in this particular bill. So again, any areas that need more clarification, I would love to.
Well, I think that would be a clarification on that. Like, we have the Live tournament next weekend and we have 15 trucks from Texas. So.
But just because they're in a mobile doesn't make them a mobile.
Right.
I mean, when we do the 500, we do the county fair. We have tons of events where it's people outside where they're temporary at that point. They wouldn't apply for.
But the new
a statewide.
definition doesn't specify that. It's just a truck that's mobile. So does that new definition does that also include all temporary trucks? Because they are technically mobile.
Right.
Which meets the new definition. They don't have a commissary, and they don't have a commissary, so. Yeah. This is like, I mean, when we do our fair, we have 85 vendors, 10 days operating out of Florida and Kentucky and Illinois. I mean, who's gonna be responsible for that? Who's doing those? I don't want to do them. We're
We're
already understaffed as it is.
Yeah.
We're understaffed as it is. I don't have
Understaffing.
staffing to do that with no income coming in.
That interpretation is really important too, and we struggle with trailers, and if trailers without a truck attached, like the detachable I don't know how the terminology for that is. We don't want to see a bunch of trailers dumped in our county, grabbing their space, which they're already doing for these fairs and festivals that are going on. So I think if we're going to do a definition of what the mobile interpretation of is with the definition, we need to look at trailers.
So I really, really encourage, once we set our next meeting, I encourage everyone to line by line, the House bill, identify where there may be the gray areas. And when we come back to the next meeting, we'll be able to, we'll work with Keon to put a proposal together if we all agree upon the areas that need further clarification. But I did want to ask, sorry, Abby, I don't want to put you on the spot, but were there any concerns that you all had or any comments or anything from IRLA?
Just here to listen right now. Yeah, we come at it from obviously a different perspective. The database, obviously, if there was funding for that, would have been ideal and I think answer or fix a lot of these issues. But that does not exist right now. So just here to listen and help with changes if we need them.
So referring back to the timeline, so these are essentially our goals for the work group. There are dates associated with it. Those dates are the absolute hard stop on when the project has to be completed. So the first action item on there is going to be establishing a bill amendment proposal. If there are any items that we need further clarification on, that's what we'll discuss at our next meeting. That hard stop is December because we know the legislative sessions start at the beginning of the year. So we'll get this information over to our partners with legislative services. The next one is going to be establishing mobile retail food establishment requirements in 7-26. So we talked about it, and of course, you guys will have input as well. We talked about maybe doing something similar to the bread and breakfast rule. We've looked at what other states have done. I know New York City has its own mobile rule, but we have kind of said it might be a little bit easier because we are on crunch time to get a rule passed, is to amend the current rule we already have with requirements that we come up with collectively as a work group. That deadline is going to be January of 2026. And I say that we need to have those requirements by January because I believe by April, we have to have all documents finalized and submitted per Keon. We have to have all of our documents submitted to get ready to go to OMB for approval, which goes into submit rule revision paperwork. And then once we kind of submit the paperwork, then we can kind of get into establishing the plan review, the license, and the application packet for mobiles and what that looks like. That's going to be, we have up until May to get that done. And then, of course, we would probably want to pilot it a little bit just to see before we roll it out by January. We just want to see, because I always say it's easy for us to be in an office and write something down, but is it actually applicable out in the field? Next, by September, we want to establish the statewide inspection program, which is something that a lot of you have expressed concerns about today, which is something we really want to get into. I believe Sharon says into the weeds. So that's something that we really want to dive into to see what that looks like, because there are 95 county health departments, and then we also do inspections at the state as well. So 96 regulatory authorities out and about across the state doing inspections on mobiles. And then we want to establish training materials, because I know that we're here and I know that there are several people online. I'm waving. Hi, guys. I know that there are several online, but we want to make sure that we're able to roll this out as efficiently as possible, and that every county, no matter how big or how small they are, has access to those same resources that we do here at the work group. And that way by January, we're all able to roll out same time, I always say one band, one sound. So that is the ultimate goal, is to have us all playing the same song by January of 2027. So this is fluid. So we can have a little bit of wiggle room, but that's why I didn't put any official like day dates associated with it. But the top half of the timeline, those are actually our hard dates because it goes beyond us. It won't just be us who are need approval. We have to go through other channels to get approval. Hang on, am I missing anything?
All right, well, we have to have a final say on the bill amendment before we can actually submit the rule revisions.
So that's what we're going to, that's what I said for the next meeting. We haven't set that meeting, nor have we set our frequency. That's what we're supposed to vote on. I knew I was forgetting something. We need to see how frequently we are willing to meet, what works with all of our schedules. And that should be the next thing that we essentially talk about, because again, these dates are coming up very quickly. So as far as how often we would like to meet, is it monthly, bi-monthly? Given that it's almost September, I would say monthly.
At least.
Yeah, at least.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think winter is a good time to do monthly, and then, because this is our time to kind of hot wash of what our event season was like and with the mobiles too. So I think that monthly would be ideal.
And Keon, correct me if I'm wrong, but we can just vote the next meeting to say, okay, we need to meet more often, let's do bi-weekly or something to tackle whatever issues we need to address. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So meeting monthly, that gives us 4 months to write. If we do all decide that we want to submit a proposal for an amendment to the bill, that gives us 4 months to all collectively agree on what will be in it.
No, all I was gonna say is just food for thought. Like I just asked Keon if there was any chance that we could have like a working group on Teams or, you know, something similar, and we can't. So just keep that in mind too. You can email Mariah or Jordan, you know, whomever directly, each one of you independently. But we can't have any kind of online, offline official working groups. So the work will have to officially be done in this room, whatever, if that's, you know, on Teams or in here.
So we'll do a vote now, right, Keon? For monthly meetings. So District 2.
Yay.
District 3.
Yay.
District 4. District 5.
Yay.
District 6.
Yay.
District 7.
Yay.
District 8.
Yay.
And District 9.
Yay.
All right, we'll meet monthly, and we will probably do a when can you meet survey that best picks the date for our meeting in September. And then we'll probably have like a reoccurring date for the following month after that. Any other thoughts or questions?
I just want to take advantage of this group since we're all here too. So we haven't started enforcing the restrooms for mobiles, the restroom access, and I was just curious of where everyone is on that, since it was kind of on the fence with this House bill. What is everybody doing with that, or has anybody started initiating that, or what does that look like? Because that is something that I think we need to start addressing now as a local health department before this goes to a statewide one. So anybody doing anything with it, or? I know that Georgia has them fill out a form that's an agreement. And this is one of the things that has come up at multiple occasions of the late night operation, is that they need to have access to a restroom. I just, before we committed to anything like that, I just want to make sure it wasn't something we have them do for a year, and then it's like, aha, you don't have to do it. So I just want to kind of get a projection of where that's at, or if anybody's doing it. Do you have any thoughts on it, Mariah, of what you think?
I love that idea. It's actually in the Manila folder, the toilet agreement.
Yeah, and I know, I think Seattle does that. Seattle, King County has one as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and start moving on that for our renewal for next year, but I just wanted to see like kind of a consensus if anybody's else is gonna do it, since we're trying to get to more of a standardized approach here too. All right, we're going for it.
Someone saying no.
Okay, so we did mention that we want to survey the amount of food trucks that are in the state. So what are some of those questions that we'd like to ask? Because I'd like to get that out no later than Wednesday, honestly. If it's just going to be 4 or 5 questions, it's just going to be a survey monkey and we'll get it out to all LHDs. What will be some of those questions that we'd like to get some information about?
So we go by types because of the Conference for Food Protection. We have type 1, type 2, type 3. So those definitions, even no matter what they call it, I'd be interested in how many of those they have of each type.
Okay.
I think the commissary usage, like if they have a commissary, if they let them use a servicing station, because we have limitations for servicing stations in Marion County. I think some people can use gas stations or other things. Our gas stations aren't allowing, our parks don't allow it. So I'd be curious of what that looks like, or just what their general approach is to determining whether they need a commissary or a servicing station.
I would suggest too, like get address. Just so you can pull out redundancies if you're wanting to look at it. 'Cause I know like us in Floyd, we have a ton that are, we're gonna submit the same facilities. So if like you could sort it by like an address too, you could pull out redundancies if you.
Well, I don't know if
like,
we're
pull the
asking for
list.
like specific like truck locations. We're just asking for
So I
a
don't-
generalized like.
I thought like if you wanted to see how many total there were in the state, like you're gonna get, like if we have 70, say Floyd County has 50 or 60, we have like 40 of them that are the same. It's gonna inflate that number more than
Yeah.
statewide number, more than what it really is. So I'm saying like the ownership address, so you could like tease out the redundant permits in multiple counties if you wanted.
Okay. I don't know how detailed the Survey Monkey will let me get, but I will write that.
Yeah, I mean, that's on spreadsheets.
If you differentiate it by in-county commissary versus an out-of-county mobile, might give you a better number.
You had mentioned earlier if the inspections were available online for mobiles for different counties.
And I guess define whether or not we're doing it based on just what we're considering as a mobile, or are we diving into the new definition that also actually include temporaries? When you ask for questions.
Because Janelle brought up back to, you have a trailer. What's a skid? What does that look like?
Someone's gonna push their skid all the way to Marion County.
Does anybody have a water vehicle? Water vessel?
We did
We
have.
did.
There are some out
Came from the car.
Really, like on
Using
like on
Florida
a boat.
on lakes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're on the Ohio River and there's a guy that used to do hot dogs off the boat.
We have hot dogs on a
Yeah.
pontoon boat.
We used to.
Well, we've had many inquiries, but DNR and the water company is who runs like Geist and stuff like that, and they're like, no.
The real gray area on who regulates is actually floating and
Me again. I am curious about the inspection philosophy too, because we do surprise inspections and I'm to just get a scope of like, if they're good trucks, are they making appointments to go meet them and see their truck when everything's gonna be fine?
Yeah.
Or are they inspecting them nights and weekends or when they're in operation at like lunch times? I think that would give us a better idea of what we could be coming into if we know that they're inspecting them when they're actually operating, rather than like, this truck's perfect, then we go on a Saturday and it's like a disaster because it's never been seen. I realize that we don't even have the resources to do that. And so, but we have to make it work. So I'm just trying to see how they log that or what they do.
Well, and do they get notification that they're gonna be operating in your county? And that's the other thing. Half the time we stumble upon them.
The type 1, type 2, type 3, I'm not familiar with that. Does that include some sort of basis for a fee structure as well, or is that just the operation itself? It's fees too?
We made it to fees. It was inspection cycle is what we did, but we borrowed from the conference for food protection. So we have like ice cream trucks are one. I really don't care about
Yeah.
them. I mean, I shouldn't be on.
That might be helpful to see
Thing to
what
do that.
fees counties charge for those different parts.
When state capped us at 200, it's felt silly to have 200 for a full service food truck on wheels and then charge 200 for an ice cream truck. So we lowered ours considerably, which interrupted our revenues from that, but it just had to, it just was fair. Our plan reviews are based on that too, based on how complex the truck is or the vehicle is.
So what I'll do is I'll send this out this week. I'll ask for it back by the end of next week. That way we can compile all the data together and then we can send it back out to the work group. That way, by the time we all meet again, we've already had a chance to like look at everything. And we'll be able to have some more discussion and start writing that proposal in September. I think does that sound doable? Okay.
Yeah, I just thought something else too. There's that state law about the peddlers and vendors and hawkers. If you're a vet, it's free. I don't know if everybody's like
Yeah.
use that stuff. I don't know how that would tie
We're
into.
familiar with that exemption.
I don't know how that would tie into this also.
But that's a peddler's license, not a food license.
Yeah. Our attorneys have determined that that's for like this, when you're
Yeah.
peddling, that's not a food establishment license.
Ours said the same thing.
And since it's state, I don't think it would be applicable to.
So I don't remember, we have had to look into it as well. I think Keon, we've looked into it together. When we were looking at the pedal, it like dates back to like the 1800s or something when it was first came around. And I think we have determined, just like you guys have said, so it's different as a peddler versus a actual like setup, I would say, yeah.
It is something you've spoken with your county attorney about yet?
We have previously about it. It's so broad, I don't know where it, yeah. We talked about it before, and we included it, but
It specifically says peddler or hawker. That's a food establishment.
Yeah, but I think most counties accept that because we had
so
an issue with the
anywhere
guy.
we
I think
get-
most counties.
you and I.
It was us. I got, yeah.
Oh, I've done this.
Had
And we had to look
complain
up
about
the
me about-
definition and there were so many
Yeah.
definition of what it means to hawk or what it means to, yeah.
Because I had somebody trying to do it, they wanted to do it for retail food establishment, and I said no. But I think a lot of counties accept that as a food truck.
Yeah, I know a lot by us do. We don't do it for physical
haven't done it.
structures, but
You
anything
never
that's
We do it for.
temporary mobile where they can like move it, so.
That would be something we
We don't
standardize as
have
part of
that
it.
in.
Yeah.
We have our determination on it too, and I'd be happy to share. I think we could share that out. And so it also says an individual, it doesn't say a corporation, which most mobiles are
Yes.
mobile food truck LLC. So there's a lot of things that pull off of that. So I'd be glad to share. I don't know if I can do. I can't email anybody or share it with them, so I'll share it specifically.
Where are we at with time?
Does anyone need a
22.
break? We're good? Or should we just take 5 minutes, stretch your legs? 5 minutes, come back at 11:30?
I would appreciate that if we could. I go to the restroom. Yeah, so I will be back in like 5 minutes. 11:30, we have everyone back. Jessica, if you're ready to unmute us. We're good. Fantastic. So I hope everyone was able to enjoy their quick break. So there were some, a little bit of discussion earlier that Jordan and I kind of wanted a little more clarification on, and it's okay if you don't have the answer for it now, but we'd love to take back these notes. It was mentioned that there's going to be a statewide license. We understand that. And then it was also brought to our attention that it was said kind of like, how is the state going to, let's say we're unable to get compliance with the truck, right? And you guys mentioned the state being more aggressive. What does that mean?
So I think I was the one who said it. So I need to know, like legally, since we would normally take this back to our legal team and either take them to court or something like that, it's no longer our license. So if there needs to be a revocation, say we continuously have a problem with the truck, and I could probably name 5, that, you know, don't meet the parameters and continue to have issues, or if they don't pay citations or any other kind of things, like what are our next steps? Because we already have a path and like a way of doing that. Now I feel like it escalates to the state, and like, what does that look like? And, or at least to have that discussion of if it's a problem thing, is that going to become something that escalates up, or is there some kind of path for that?
Any other feedback on that? That was just a point of clarification for us.
Yeah, I just think like for us, we issue civil penalties, you know, if you're non-compliant. So how, you know, who's gonna, like if I see them out and I'm doing the inspection, you know, how can I issue them civil penalties? And am I gonna flick you up at 9:30 and be like, hey, Mariah,
Hey,
you're
girl.
gonna issue these civil penalties because here's what's going on.
So our,
Yeah. Go ahead.
our local ordinance has that they can't renew unless they pay all the fines or fees that are owed to them. So it's really not owed to us, it's
Right.
owed to the state technically, and we're kind of the, you know, it gets really gray there. And so I think that needs to have some kind of.
So that's something good, and that's something Jordan and I have talked about in in the software that we currently have. We would really rely on every county that issued a penalty to notify us, and then it goes into the system. That's something we would have to manually do. And then when it is time for renewal, that was just something that we briefly discussed, just having in our software. Not sure how it all works out just yet, but FIAS works a lot of magic for us. So mental note.
Well, would the penalties be standardized between everybody then? So your fees in Hamilton County may be different than yours in Marion County, so you would have to almost have them the same.
So the penalties are an IC statute, right?
Right.
But there's still a range during the IC.
The IAC, I'm so sorry, it is 7-23. So, and they're going through a process now to be updated, but there are no more ranges. It is a fixed fee, and because it is an IAC, there's no wiggle room from that, because you can't be more stringent than the IAC. So it would just be a fixed civil penalty. I hope that answers your question. But I know that we are trying to, it's almost time to start wrapping up. I wanted to open final discussions. We do have some things, our action items for our next meeting to discuss, but I just wanted to see if there was anything else.
That is one thing that's in that bill, though, is standards for violation or failed inspection. So I do think on the back end, development of some type of corrective action plan for compliance and enforcement purposes should be one of the standards that we develop.
Well, and if you're gonna do that, and you, like we do the same as you, when it's time for renewal, you have that civil penalty. You know, you cannot operate, but if you're at the other side of the state and you're operating, what are you gonna do? And then like we do renewals January 1, so we send out renewals in November for December. But we have until January 15th to comply with those renewals. So what do you do with those mobile trucks for those amount of times when they're not permitted? You know, are you gonna do that? Not you personally, but like, is the state gonna do a renewal? You know, you're all gonna sit around on December 26th and pump out those renewals for thousands of food trucks to get you permitted on January 1. You know, or is it gonna be a November to November, or
So
you
one
know,
thing, I hope this helps. In the bill, it does mention, even though it's a statewide permit, it's actually issued by the local county health department. So we actually don't issue it. Like,
Right.
it's within your jurisdiction to issue that. But we can dive into it a little bit more as we continue to go along the work group, as we have to set those standards and requirements.
That might be a point of clarification too.
Yeah.
Is it where they operate the most, or is it where the commissary is? I think that might need to be clarified.
I agree.
Any last
I wonder about how many times one county can inspect them? You know, if we're getting fees for inspections, then let's just stop every health department getting this one mobile unit. And then also, if we write a citation or what's the fines, who's gonna follow up? I mean, are they gonna stop coming to our county? Because they can go next door without any.
I thought they took the inspection fees out.
Yeah. There's no more inspection fees. You
Yeah,
can't
there are
have
no more
any fees
inspection
other than
fees.
the
But
license.
we don't. Okay, but still, then who's gonna follow up on citations and
Yeah.
and
exactly.
violations?
Too.
and-
Exactly. That was our.
Because we're not gonna get any money out of
Yeah,
it. We're kind of like,
You're right.
Well, then who gets the citation fees if they do get an inspection and have citations? Who's getting those fees? The state, or does it go to the county that issued them?
Whomever issued the citation, it wouldn't.
But it's your license, so.
and we'd be trying to collect from Hamilton County, we'd be trying to collect from them.
Yep.
Have them.
So that's something that we can dive into. It's a gray area that needs further clarification. I don't have any of those answers right now. This is very new to us, just like it's very new to all of everyone in the room. So we have some.
Yeah, we can about that later, but I'm guessing that even though this is a statewide license, because it specifically says the counties are responsible for issuing that license and conducting the inspection and enforcing it, that the counties would get all those fees.
And this license is only for the unit itself. So if they have a commissary that's licensed, that's still
That's
a
a
local
retail
license.
The commissary would be a retail food establishment.
And we have commissary license for that. That's why I'm very concerned about commissary versus servicing station and consistency on that determination.
Yep, so one thing that we're doing is we have decided that we're going to amend 7-26 because we're gonna add the mobile. And if that's something that we need to amend as well, because I believe we have commissary definition. I don't know if we define servicing station, so that would be a good takeaway. It's for further clarification on our end on what the differences between the two. Oh, you guys can't prepare.
It's references servicing station as part of a commissary, but it doesn't go the other way.
Yeah, commissary is a
Good
retail food
takeaway.
establishment, it's servicing area, it's not a retail food establishment, it falls under the umbrella.
Service area is what we're having, for some counties probably have to trouble, interpreting, probably, certain things making this.
Well, servicing area is defined in 7-26.
It is.
Servicing area is defined in 7-26.
Okay.
One needs a permit and one does not at this point due to definition.
Gotcha. All right, good takeaway. Anyone else?
I just was gonna say, in our county, we basically, if you have 2 or more food establishments, it's an event. They have to register it as an event.
Okay.
So even though it's a mobile, the event organizer would still have to register it. So you couldn't have 30 mobiles without it being registered.
I know we'll talk about that, but Georgia, I think, has a good way of notifying the county that they're going to be there. And so if there's anything that needs to be changed in the language, I would really appreciate if there was a time frame of when they allow us to let us know that they're coming to the county. So it's not like a big barrage of people coming for like major events.
The day before.
Yeah, so I think 30 days would be really reasonable, since that's already mentioned the county about registering, that would be something as we're going forward on this to make sure that there is adequate time to vet these trucks. Obviously, since we're on several methods of communication, we're going to have to figure out a way of getting in touch with their home county and doing all that. So I think reasonable timeframes would be.
Their authorization form is fantastic. I put it in the vanilla folder.
But if they don't do it, that's where we have to have some plan.
I would just hate to have somebody come in and say, oh, well, we're having a mobile event. And then we don't get notified. We can't license them. We can't inspect them.
Good. Have like 3 pages of notes so far, but no, this is good. And this is how we get started. And this is how we're able to, because at the end of the day, like all of us are impacted and we want to make sure that this like this works and we want to come with solutions. So I am excited to continue working with you guys. So for action items, for IDOH, what we are asking is District 1, we're going to get you guys the ethics training. And if you guys could take that, that way you can begin participating in voting on the work group. And then making sure that everyone has a delegate for your district. Just in case you have to be out, vacation, illness, anything like that. And then, so another thing is, because we have to, this is a formal, we're called a governing body. Sorry, that's a new term to me. Since we are a governing body, we're only able to have discussion all together once we meet quorum in the room. So for the bill amendments, what I'm going to ask you to do is send me a copy of your proposed changes. I will put them in a working document. And then once we meet at our next meeting, we'll be able to review it together because we're unable to share ideas collaboratively when we're not all present. So is that okay with everyone in the group? Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yeah, I didn't want to say that. And then I will send out the Survey Monkey for obtaining the information on how many food trucks are operating within the state. I'll have that information prior to our next meeting because I'll just send that as a spreadsheet because there is no discussion on that. So I can send that. And then I will send out a when can I meet survey just to see when we're all available to meet quorum for our next meeting. It will continue to be a public meeting, so another meeting notice will come out. So you guys will hear from me by the end of the week with several pieces of information.
Brian, do you want to set a due date for those suggestions or, you know, the revisions to the rule? Or do you want to wait until you get the date and then back into that?
I will wait until I get the date. And then once we set our next meeting, I will send the official communication, I would say, at that point. And then if we could kind of stick to the deadlines, that way I can compile all of the information, or the retail team, we can all compile the information together to get the information back out to all of the delegates. So, all right, Keon, anything we're supposed to do? Do we have to like adjourn like
Well,
formally?
you've got 15 more minutes, but if you don't have anything, you can just, the meeting can be adjourned.
It would be me again. I would like, have you guys had discussion directly with Georgia? Because it would be really interesting to me that as we get farther along in this process, that bring in Georgia, like just either, I don't know what the requirements are for this group, but I would be interested in hearing from them directly. And I didn't want to reach out myself because we're all in this together, but I think there'd be a lot of things that we might be missing as we get to the final end. And if they'd be willing even just to not really look over our processes, but just kind of let us know some lessons learned. I think it'd be very beneficial.
Ask our attorney if we're able to do that. They might be able to come as a public member of the public. So that might be an option. So I'm going to write that down also.
I don't think we're ready yet, but I mean, as we get closer, I think it would be nice to avoid some pitfalls.
So on that, Georgia has the program, Michigan sort of has the program, and then Ohio as well. So if you want to use those as resources, their information is available online. So
Mariah, Michigan actually has two different programs. They have mobile licenses and then they have STFUs, which are
special transient. Yeah, I was like,
it's special transitory food unit, which is the form that you included in that packet. But for regular mobile, they have a mobile commissary agreement between a food establishment and a mobile.
Okay.
The STFU is someone that's been exempted from having a commissary and can operate basically as a mobile without a commissary, or a temporary unit that can exceed the 14-day time limit for temporaries. So that's a different program than strict mobile operation.
Gotcha. So thank you for that.
I'm curious, does anyone else have, it doesn't have to be another state, if in your county, if there's a portion of a special ordinance that's just unique to you, or another rule that you just like, that you would like to see put into this state standard, please share it with the group. Either now or in an email communication later. It's all helpful.
Posting the license and the inspection reports. And so I think if we're gonna write an ordinance for this, they need to have everything posted. We also have stickers on it, which are really identifiable.
It's a QR code, right?
We have that, that's our placards that go on the, we require that too, but we actually have the sticker with their license number that we capture on that. And that's one of the things that identifies, it's an easy way for them to say that it's a legit mobile. You might not be doing legit stuff, but they'd be able to see that.
That'd be a good idea, that way it'd be easier to see when you're out, that you've got a sticker there that's state.
And maybe pie in the sky, your inspectors can scan that QR code, open our wonderful system and see all the inspections they've had and what you need to follow up on.
That'd be
We'll see
good.
what we can do.
That would be great.
She keeps looking at you.
No, I think the whole inspection thing's its own meeting. I mean, that whole thing, and then for us to navigate two systems is something that would be its own discussion. But I like paper for the fact that most of the times, if it's really hot and stuff, you don't want to really rifle through it or go through it, that we would be able to have that. And that would be a requirement that they have it. Because if that's in the ordinance, then they don't meet the requirements and might limit their operation.
Well, I also think we need to talk about expectations for us. So for instance.
As in a work group or?
No, as the counties. I mean, you know, if its license is issued in LaPorte County and they're coming to Elkhart County, are you expecting me to go out and do an inspection when they come into my county? Or is the 2 inspections that they're getting in LaPorte County going to be fine and I can just ignore them? I mean, I think we need to have some expectations for each county as to what your expectations are for them going into these facilities or not going into these facilities. I mean, I'm not sure I really want to go in to do a bunch of unfunded inspections, but
Right.
I mean, what are your expectations going to be for us?
Well, to play off of that, we have 72,000 people. I'm gonna go on their truck to see if their water's working. Maybe they did just have an inspection, Elkhart County or Fort County or wherever. You know, when we have these huge festivals, we're gonna get on the truck.
And that we will tackle once we get through the bill amendments. I think that maybe.
And I like that it says,
Is the standards for inspection.
doesn't it say
Once this works.
it says up to 2
At
annual.
least semi-annual.
Yeah, so they can't really say, no, I already had my 2 inspections.
they
You
can get
can't come
more.
on the truck anymore.
Okay, so we've got some takeaways. Go
Anybody
ahead.
else? Just curious. Anybody, any other thoughts, anything that we haven't mentioned that we should be talking about right now?
Great. So our next meeting, primary focus is going to be on if there are any proposed amendments to the bill. That'll be our primary focus. And then once we are able to tackle and finalize that, then we'll begin working on a mobile retail food establishment requirement. So, all right, this meeting had, sorry.
Did we have any other questions online? Comments?
Nope, nothing in the chat, nothing in the Q&A.
Okay.
Well, thank you all for coming. I know you guys traveled quite a distance. And you'll be hearing back from me a little bit later this week with meeting dates and times and things like that. Thank you guys.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.